Nothing can fix the lethal geometric glitch secretly shaping your life and wrecking our most advanced technology this very millisecond. There is, beyond a shadow of a doubt, an invisible point on the Earth's surface where the wind has simply stopped blowing in an absolute and terrifying way. An eye of a hurricane, a deadly and silent whirlpool, a dark, empty pit of totally dead air. And this isn't some rare climatic coincidence or a disaster triggered by the shifts of nature. It is the brutal imposition of an unbreakable mathematical law, a fundamental bug in the very physical simulation of our universe. It is geometry crushing your illusion of control, and the planet's most advanced mathematics proves it is physically impossible to escape the grip of this paradox. The overwhelming majority of you live your entire lives believing in a seductive and comforting lie, the lie that nature is a smooth, continuous, and infinitely malleable ocean. But the mathematicians peering behind the curtain know the grim and inevitable truth. They give it a name that borders on satire. They call it the Hairball theorem. And while the name sounds like a bizarre joke for children, the merciless mechanics behind this theory are an absolute terror that haunts the sleep of theoretical physicists, aerospace engineers, and computer scientists worldwide. To understand the topological prison we are trapped in, perform a visceral mental exercise right now. Take a perfect geometric sphere. Imagine it is completely covered and shielded by thousands of tiny, sharp spikes of dark liquid metal, like miniature needles pulsing on the surface. A three-dimensional ball of thorns floating isolated in a void of total darkness. Your challenge, your survival mission, is simple. Take an abstract comb and try to comb every one of those thousands of sharp spikes, so they lie perfectly flat and aligned against the continuous curve of the surface. You must create a perfect, uninterrupted, smooth flow of metal across the entire span of the sphere, without creating a single swirl, without leaving a single visible part, and without allowing any hole or blind spot to interrupt the pattern. You will fail miserably. Your brain, programmed to find harmony, will struggle. Your instinct will try every way possible to smooth down the rebellious tips, but the geometry of space will laugh hysterically at your futile attempt. Every single damn time you force your hand and try to push the spikes in a logical direction, you inevitably create a severe anomaly on the opposite side or at the poles of the sphere. A chaotic impact point, a vortex of confusion, a lonely tuft of spikes pointing straight up like a poisoned spear refusing to bow. The relentless math of the Hairball theorem dictates that you will never, under any engineering circumstance, in any universe containing three real spatial dimensions, manage to comb that damn sphere without creating this mutation. In academic terms, a continuous vector field tangent to a three-dimensional sphere must always have at least one single point where the vector is exactly equal to zero. A blind failure point. A fatal and inescapable anomaly. A singularity. And terrifyingly, while you can't visualize this directly in your daily commute or at work, this structural flaw is actively controlling the very chaotic air filling your lungs this exact instant. The massive flow of furious winds sweeping across the jagged, spherical face of our globe works exactly like that mathematically impossible hairstyle. The Earth is, for all mathematical purposes, that sphere covered by billions of invisible vectors representing wind speed and direction. And since the air of the global atmosphere never stops moving absolutely across the entire damn planet simultaneously, The laws of geometry demand their toll and require a blood sacrifice. The very round shape of the planet forces the climate to develop at least one invisible point of standstill and total collapse. It is the physical and irrefutable reason why there must constantly be a lethal cyclone, a massive hurricane, or a devastating typhoon spinning madly somewhere on the globe. The giant storm swallowing cities isn't just a meteorological phenomenon of pressure and heat. It is the cosmic, uncontrollable tuft of hair that stood up. It is the geometric singularity forced and imposed by universal topology, violently scratching and piercing the fragile face of the earth. But the whole of this abstract abyss is infinitely deeper, colder, and darker than just the weather forecast. This area of mathematics, called topology, exists to completely destroy human common sense, because topology doesn't care at all about physical size, scale, or details. It cares exclusively about fundamental connectivity, hidden holes, and the unalterable properties of raw space. And that is exactly why, when programmers try to build entire hyperrealistic universes from scratch in 3D open-world games, they run straight into the same invisible, insurmountable wall. If you map a perfectly smooth, square 2D texture around a perfect spherical planet inside the game, the core code suffers severe numerical convulsions. The poles become disfigured, torn, and pixelated. It is a mathematical monstrosity that shatters the immersion of the simulation. To bypass the nightmare, developers have to cheat the computation. They break the topology into disguised cubes or stitch hidden scars into the oceans, solely because mathematics forbids continuous perfection on a round shape. You know, when your game camera crashes and spins wildly when looking straight up, you are feeling the punch of this same universal bug, the infamous gimbal lock, the catastrophic directional drop that drives machines insane. The true colossal threat begins when arrogant humanity tries to control the monstrous power of the stars by building experimental nuclear fusion reactors. We desperately want to cage the infernal, superheated plasma within a perfectly spherical magnetic shield. But the relentless mathematical theorem simply forbids our survival. Brutal geometry will force the mandatory creation of two blind singularities, two irreversible holes in the shield through which the fury of the plasma would instantly leak, vaporizing the containment walls and annihilating our energy future. Because of this absolute blockade, high-level engineering was forced to kneel, retreat, and adopt the bizarre geometric shape of a giant donut, dubbed the tokamak reactor. Only the strange hold topology of the donut peacefully accepts being combed completely by continuous magnetic force lines without ever generating fatal failure swirls on the surface. We have been brutally subjugated by the cold, abstract architecture of our cosmos. If this deep cognitive shock has ripped an unbridgeable chasm in your complacent mind and completely pulverized your fragile perception of reality, the only safe escape route left is to keep diving deep into the hidden gears of the universe. And to finally cross this insane, dark threshold before our attention spans collapse forever upon your skull, you must right now smash the like button with violence, destroy the inertia, and click with absolute fury on the video pulsing and jumping on your screen in this tiny, tense, relentless second. Because, after all, you have just understood with visceral clarity that absolutely